So, are you worried about being retired and broke? I think for most people, retiring, that is our biggest fear, that we're going to run out of money or that we retired too early. And it can be a fear, but I think the biggest regret that I've heard from most people that I know that have retired and other informal studies, etc., show that most people regret not retiring earlier. So, how do you find that mix between the two? Well, I think there's lots of ways to do that. And first one is always my go-to. Do you know your budget? And do you know your income sources? Because if you cannot make those two match up and line up, there is no sense retiring yet. You're either going to have to cut your costs or increase your income. Now, you can retire and still work part-time. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Matter of fact, there's tons of companies that welcome retirees because they know that we're reliable, especially when you're considering us against Gen Zs, right? We've already got a 30, 40, 50-year history of working. They know we're going to show up. If you take a morning shift, which is actually some of the most available out there, you're probably got a pretty good chance of getting hired. And you can do 4 or 5 hours a day, 15, 20 hours a week, and still kind of fix that problem. So there's no reason to be retired and broke. However, if you want to retire, you can always pick up some extra income working part-time. Like I said, there's a lot of great companies out there that welcome retirees because they know we have a history of showing up for work. The next thing you need to be concerned about is where are my expenses going and where can I cut my expenses so that I'm not broke, so that I can retire. Now, a lot of people are not in my situation where I'm going to retire from this job and I'm going to move to Florida and I will find something else to do, probably part-time, because I'm only going to be 60 when I actually physically leave the job I'm in. That doesn't mean I don't want to work anymore. And I've even had people that I work with say, oh, you're going to retire and then go to work? Yes. Because one, I don't want to sit around. And two, I'm still able-bodied. There's no reason to sit around. Yeah, there's a lot of great activities I can do, but I want to be and feel productive. That's one of the reasons I'm going to work after retirement, even if it's just part-time. Second is because extra income is still extra income. We all have expenses. We all have things that we want to be able to purchase without worrying about money. So if you're not in a financial situation to retire because of that, consider retiring to something part-time. A lot of great companies out there that hire and love retirees. Home Depot is probably and Lowe's probably one of the biggest ones around. And most of us have a little bit of background in something that can be used at those stores. So don't suffer in silence and retire and say you're broke. Find a way to live within your means. And that would be my third point, is find a way to live within your means. If you've got too many expenses, it's time to cut. You can't retire and have a decent life if you're going to carry all these bills with you. It just doesn't make any sense. And there's lots of ways to do that, and that would be, first off, sell everything that's not nailed down to pay off any debt you may be carrying. Sell anything that has debt to it that you can't afford, especially if it's a car. Cars are nothing but money pits most of the time anyway. They lose value and they're not worth, keeping a high-end expensive car for. So going to a cheaper car that has lower insurance, maybe better gas mileage, all those things can be advantageous to get you back on track with a budget you can afford and budget you can live with. So in summary, just 2 or 3 really good ideas to help you get started. But don't retire broke. There's no need to retire and be broke. Figure out your expenses, get rid of things that aren't nailed down that you don't need anymore, and streamline your expenses. And work part-time if you need to. That way you can still enjoy life. There's no reason to just sit. Anyway, that's a fast way to the graveyard, as they say. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.